Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the nafs in multiple places in the Quran. In Surah Yusuf last night we talked about Yusuf alayhi salam saying that he doesn't absolve himself or doesn't absolve his nafs from sin. Instead, the nafs constantly commands a person to commit sin. Inna an-nafsa la'ammaratun bis-su'i illa ma rahima rabbi. And we see the majority of the times the sins that are committed, it is because of this nafs that desires something. There's a constant struggle between the nafs and the ruh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in Surah Taha the incident of Musa alayhi salam and Samiri, which we just recited. And briefly, this is that Musa alayhi salam was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come to the Mount Tur to receive the Torah. And as he went there, he spent 40 days. When he came back, he noticed that his nation, his ummah, was completely in a different situation, different from what he had left them in. And what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا عَجَلَكَ عَنْ قَوْمِكَ يَا مُوسَى. Oh Musa, why did you leave your nation and came running to me? What made you run? He said, هُمَّ أَوْلَاءِ عَلَى أَثَرِي يَا Allah. They're just following right behind me. They're coming right behind. عَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. I ran towards you so that you may be pleased. I wanted to come here quickly, before time. And I knew that they're gonna come on their own. They're right behind me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied that this is actually not the case. They're not following behind you. Instead, they are right now in a big situation. قَالَ فَإِنَّا قَدْ فَتَنَّا قَوْمَكَ مِنْ بَعْدِكَ وَأَضَلَّهُمُ السَّامِرِي. Indeed, we have tested your nation after you have left them, and Samiri has made them go astray. So, this is a time in which they had just been saved from Fir'aun, and they were enjoying the blessings of man and salwa. Everything was going perfect for them. And yet, Samiri was able to get hold of them. So Musa alayhi salam ran back. فَرَجَعَ مُوسَى إِلَىٰ قَوْمِ غَضْبَانَ أَسِفًا. Musa alayhi salam went back to his nation. غضبان, he's upset, angry. And Asifa, he's sad. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ, he said, oh my nation, أَلَمْ يَعِدْكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ وَعْدًا حَسَنًا. Did not your Lord promise you a good promise? What was that promise? That He is going to forgive those who will repent, and of course those who do righteous deeds, for them is Jannah. وَإِنِّي لَغَفَّارٌ لِمَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. I'm going to forgive those who repent and who accept Iman, who believe, who have faith in Musa alayhi salam. And there was such a good promise of benefits in dunya and akhirah. Did He not promise you? أَفَطَالَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْعَهْدِ. Did the waiting period prolong too much that you couldn't wait for Jannah? You couldn't wait for the blessings? أَمْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَنْ يَحِلَّ عَلَيْكُمْ غَضَبٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Or did you actually desire and want Allah's punishment to come upon you? فَأَخْلَفْتُمْ مَوْعِدِي. So you went against the promise you made with me, and you missed the time you're supposed to meet. We're supposed to meet at Mount Tur. You're not supposed to be sitting here. Why did you mess up all of these things here? قَالُوا مَا أَخْلَفْنَا مَوْعِدَكَ بِمَلْكِنَا. They said, we did not stay behind بِمَلْكِنَا, with our own desire and our own wish. وَلَكِنَّا حُمِّلْنَا أَوْزَارًا مِنْ زِينَةِ الْقَوْمِ. Instead, we were given the jewelry and the gold of the whole nation was given to us. The responsibility was given to us. فَقَذَفْنَاهَا. So we threw it, and hence Samiri also threw it. So what is this talking about here? Samiri was this individual that was living with the nation of Musa alayhi salam. And after Musa alayhi salam left, he came up with a plan. And he said that Musa alayhi salam has actually gone and he's left his Lord over here. The Rabb is over here. Rabb is not over there. So he instructed everyone that they should give whatever gold they had and jewelry they had and throw it into a big pot. فَكَذَلِكَ أَلْقَى السَّامِرِي. Samiri also threw it in. And what he had seen was that he saw the effect of the hooves of the animal of Jibreel, on which the angel used to ride. He saw the effect of the hooves was that it would grow grass wherever it went, greenery. If there was barren land, wherever the animal stepped, put its foot, there would be green grass there. Like we talked about Tafsir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who puts effect into things. Nothing in the world has its own effect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for some reason, in His own wisdom, put the strength and the power in that. And He allowed Samiri to see that. So Samiri began to come up with a plan. So he took this sand and he threw it in with the rest. It was in his hand right here, right? When everyone was throwing into the pot, he also threw that in. فأخرج لهم عجلا جسدا له خوار. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He took it out. Allah took for them out, or Samiri took it out. This whole gold was melted. It was formed into a kid, baby cow. And lahu khuwar, it used to make a noise. How was this noise? Some actually say because it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala testing them, so it actually made a certain noise. Or it was simply made such that there was a hole at the mouth end and a hole in the back, and so when the wind would pass through, it would make like a whistling type of sound. But people, like how they do these magic shows and magic tricks and stuff like that, right? It's there's most of the time they're just deceiving people. They're playing games. So this was a game. And then he said, "Hada ilahukum wa ilahu Musa fanasi." This is your Lord, and this is Musa's Lord as well. Fanasiya, but he's forgotten. Musa forgot. Alayhi salam. Look at how quickly you can turn around a nation. People that go with the flow. Right now they were in the midst of Fir'aun killing them and attacking them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they begged Allah and they begged Musa, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got him out of that mess. And just a little bit later, they're actually falling for this, and they're thinking that no, really, Musa forgot his Khuda, his Lord, and this little kid that was just created right now is the God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَرَوْنَ, do they not see أَلَّا يَرْجِعُ إِلَيْهِمْ قَوْلًا, that this animal may be making a noise, but it does not respond to them. If you ask him a question, he's going to make the same noise constantly. Why doesn't he speak? وَلَا يَمْلِكُ لَهُمْ ضَرًّا وَلَا نَفْعًا, and this animal has no control over giving any benefit or any harm. Only Allah does. He left his brother Harun as a Khalifa. Harun a.s. said to them, Ya qawm, O my nation, please stop this. إِنَّمَا فُتِنْتُمْ بِهِ, you have been put through a test and a trial via Samiri. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ, your Lord is not this animal here. Instead, it is the most gracious Ar-Rahman. فَاتَّبِعُونِي, follow me, وَأَطِيعُوا أَمْرِي, and obey my command. قالوا, they replied, no. لَن نَبْرَحَ عَلَيْهِ عَاكِفِينَ, we will remain here, steadfast, worshipping this animal, حَتَّى يَرْجِعَ إِلَيْنَا Musa, until Musa comes back. Until he doesn't come and say, leave, we're not going to leave. We're going to sit here worshipping this animal. So Musa a.s., he doesn't know what's happening. He comes back and he's quite upset when he sees this whole mess. He says, Ya Harun, oh Harun, what happened to you? What stopped you when you saw them going astray? Why did you not come after me? Why did you not follow me? Why didn't you not do something about this? Have you disobeyed my commands? I left you as a Khalifa. Your responsibility was to bring them all together. So Harun a.s. replied, no, he was upset, the brother, Musa. So he says, oh, the son of my mother, Ibn. Why did he say that? Because the mother is the source of love, right? So the Harun a.s., the Musa a.s., Harun a.s. is trying to bring in the mother, so to get the soft side of Musa. He says, you are the son of our mother. Think about how nice our mother is. Think about the relationship you and I have. We have one common mother. So he brought that in to bring in a soft side of Harun a.s., of Musa a.s. لا تأخذ بلحيتي, do not hold on to my beard. ولا برأسي, and don't hold on to my head either. Like this. He had grabbed him. So the ulama from here explain that of course Harun alayhi salam, if he had a very small beard, then it would not be possible for Musa to grab it by his fist. The fact that he's telling him, stop grabbing my beard please, means that it was a fist length. It was large enough for a person to hold it with his hand. And that's what the sunnah beard is. إِنِّي خَشِيتُ أَن تَقُولَ فَرَّقْتَ بَيْنَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَمْ تَرْقُبْ قَوْلِي. I was afraid that you're going to say that you caused difference, a divide between the Bani Israel. If I were to say, come on, right now, let's follow, let's get out, let's move from here, leave Samiri, and let's start walking towards Musa. A certain group of them would obey, and most definitely a certain group of them would not obey. And that would be a bigger mess. Half of Bani Israel sitting there, and half of Bani Israel with me. Now we would have no one left behind. So in order to save the fitna, from them from causing a fitna, I stayed behind. From here, sometimes we realize that in order to keep unity, and in looking at the bigger picture, sometimes you have to overlook certain things. When you realize that it's the lesser of the two evils. Not always. Not always. But you have to look at certain times, the lesser of the two evils is that you keep the ummah together, and then you leave this decision to the ulama. They'll decide when is the time for us to go with the consensus or to go with the ummah, and when is the time to take a stand. Because if you always constantly take the side of the majority, our deen will just become a play. There are certain instances, certain moments, however, when small differences need to be left aside. Now this is not a small difference. This is a huge problem right here. This is shirk. But what he was afraid is that Musa is definitely going to come back in a few days' time, inshallah. He's coming back. He will be able to bring some sense into these people. But if I were to take them out, half of them right now, then Samiri will get a bigger grasp upon them. And they may be completely out of our hold. And we don't know what will happen to them. So in order to save that 1/3, if we may call it, he decided to stay put and stay behind. So now Musa alayhi salam asked Samiri, what happened to you? What did you do? What was this all about? قَالَ بَصُرْتُ بِمَا لَمْ يَبْصُرُوا بِي. I saw something what they all did not see. I saw the sand had this, the sand underneath the hooves of this animal had this ta'thir. I saw it. I was noticing it. And they didn't see it. فَقَبَضْتُ قَبْضَةً مِّنْ أَثَرِ الرَّسُولِ. So I grabbed a handful that was there on the ground, and I threw it into the pot. Now why did I mention this whole story? It's just for this one word. When Musa a.s. asked him, why did you do all of this? Think about it. You're just a normal person leading a normal life. I went to Tur. You're all supposed to come in a few days' time. Why did you cause this chaos? Upar se niche, you've messed up the whole ummah. Puri mehnat pe pani pher diya. Right? What made you do this? He says, كَذَلِكَ سَوَّلَتْ بِنَفْسِي. This is something with the kids, adults, all of us, whenever we ask, especially the young children, and you ask them, why did you do this? Why did you tip over the glass of water? Why did you break this? Why did you paint the wall? Why did you come late? Why did you hit your sister? What are they going to say? What did they say, guys? I felt like doing it. That's exactly what somebody said. وَكَذَلِكَ سَوَّلَتْ لِي نَفْسِي. I felt like doing it. This is what my nafs told me to do. This is what my nafs asked me to do. So I did it. There's no other reason. There's no hidden agenda behind it. I don't want to become a prophet. I don't want to become God. Nothing. Simple thing is I felt like doing it, and that's why I did it. قَالَ فَاذْهَبْ. Musa a.s. of course cursed him, got upset, and he said, go away from here. For the rest of your life, you'll have such a disease that no one will ever be able to come close to you, and constantly you will be telling people, la misas, don't touch me, don't touch me. You'll be running away from people in the jungles. And look at this God that you made, wandur ila ilahak. Look at this God that you made, which you sat there worshiping and made everyone worship. We're going to burn it. And then we're going to take the ashes and spread it into the ocean. إِنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمُ اللَّهُ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. Indeed, your Lord is the one Allah who has no partners. وَسِعَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا, and His knowledge encompasses everything. Friends, this is what the nafs does. The nafs al-ammara that incites us to commit sin, it does so for no reason, just for the sake of it. It's got its own way of doing things. It's got its own, that's it. It wants you and I to go away from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. And that's why the ulama have given the example of the nafs like a little baby. A baby who that is drinking the mother's milk. Until and unless the mother does not decide to separate the baby will continue drinking milk and nothing else. The mother's milk. Right? The only way is the mother has to make that decision at whatever, 2.5 years, that this is it. That now it's time to move away. Go on to the next phase. So this is how the nafs is as well. As long as you feed it and give it whatever it desires, it will just get stronger. And it will just constantly desire more. It's really interesting to study the nafs of ourselves. That's why the ulama who work on tazkiyah and rectification of the nafs, they ask us to go against our nafs. Go against whatever you and I desire. It's very hard to do this. Very hard. But the one who controls his nafs has really conquered the world. That's it. The one who can control his nafs has conquered because once you conquer your desires, then you don't need anything. You don't even need money. Whatever little you get, you're happy with it. You don't need a newer car. You don't need a newer home. You don't need a newer dress. You don't need a new pair of shoes. You don't need anything because you've controlled the nafs and you've told it that you're going to get everything in Jannah. That doesn't mean you live a shabby life. But the fact is that you don't need it. Agyato mashallah. If it comes your way, very good. You'll wear it. You'll enjoy it. If it doesn't come your way, you won't get upset about it. You won't get sad. It will continue leading. What makes you and I upset is when we don't get what we want. Right? That's what makes kids upset, and that's what makes us upset. But if you just take care, if you get rid of that want, and that you don't have any wants anymore, then life becomes so peaceful. Life becomes so nice. And mashallah, that's how the awliya lead a life wantless. Like they don't desire anything. People come and they give them huge gifts, and they just turn it down and they say that, we don't want it. Come on. Just put it like that. Yeah. So like I've seen my shuyukh, my asatidha, when people come with very expensive gifts, pens, watches, phones, cell phones, this and that. We always saw that. It would come into their hands, and the very next guest that would come to their home, it would be in his hands. It'd just be like a revolving door. Said we don't need this. Alhamdulillah. But they would do it in such a way that the other person wouldn't see. For example, if a person came from Chicago to give the gift, they would give it to someone from LA. So they don't necessarily meet up and say, "Oh, but my gift I give to the sheikh. How dare he gives it to someone else?" But the thing is that they're desireless. They just don't want it. And so I had a friend who was during when I was studying overseas. He had this amazing habit. Like I still remember this so vividly. We'd come back from lunch, and the lunch would sometimes be a very greasy type of salan or something like that. And afterward, your mouth is, you feel like you want to eat something sweet. So we had the store right outside next to the mess hall, next to the cafeteria, where they'd sell chocolates and whatnot. And I take him inside. I say, hey, because we eat together food, and I said, why don't we just go buy a little chocolate? We'll share it. So I remember clearly an instance when he ate with me, and then we went into this tuck shop to buy something, and we bought something, and then he took it, and then he put it back. And I was paying for it. I said, hey, come on, take it. And he said, no. And so I didn't realize what's happening. I took mine, and we both walked out. And I said, why did you do that? And he said, actually, my nafs desired it. And the fact that my nafs desired it, I can't give it what it wants every time. So I said, no. Just like the way we treat little kids. When they go to the grocery store, stand in the register line, they're grabbing for every candy, they'll grab this, that. As parents, it's an everyday thing. And you never give, you give in maybe once in a week, maybe, possibly, you give in. But imagine if every single time you go to the store, you give the child whatever he wants. You know that the child's going to be extremely spoiled. And not only that, you won't have any money left either. So, this is how the nafs is as well. That the nafs, it desires today something, tomorrow something. Constantly the nafs is desiring something. Yet you and I have to break the habit. It's very hard for me, it's very hard for you to break the habit. Whatever, maybe it's just a cup of chai, or maybe it's a chocolate bar, or it's maybe, something else that we have that we're used to doing, that we like it, we enjoy it. Without that, we cannot enjoy life. That's what we have to break. I was once in Madinah al-Munawwara, and I like, it's Sunnah of Rasulullah. So I went to a store right outside of Medina to purchase some itar. And I said, hey, what's this itar? What's this itar? And I said, I love oud. I said, let me see, let me smell some oud. So he showed me this. He said, bhai, ye hai na, crazy prices, right? It's 4,000 riyal for tola. This is 5,000. This is 15,000. This, that. So then, casually, he was an Indian guy. He was reading his newspaper, Urdu newspaper, in sitting there. I said, which one do you like? He said, bhai sahab, मैं तो इतर खरीदता ही नहीं, और मैं इसकी आदत ही नहीं बनाया, और ना मैं चाय पीता हूँ, ना मैं पान खाता हूँ. मैं ये सब चीज़ों की आदत जो है अपने आप लगाते नहीं. इससे ज़िंदगी इतनी आसानी से गुजर जाती है, कम पैसे में आदमी गुजारा कर लेता है. ये सर अगर आप अपनी इसके आदी बनोगे ना, तो फिर पैसे भी पूरे ख़त्म हो जाएंगे और कभी जो है हवस और ख्वाहिश पूरी नहीं होगी. Subhanallah, simple man sitting there reading the newspaper. What a beautiful piece of advice he gave. He said, I don't drink chai, I don't eat pan, I don't buy ethers. I haven't made myself accustomed to these things. Because if I become accustomed to these things, then my wallet will go empty, and yet I'll always want more. That's what you call hirs. That's what you call, lust for things. That is what you call a constant greed for things. Look at the greed that people, men and women both have their weaknesses. Women have a greed for shoes. I've been to homes where you see 50 to 60, literally, wallah, it's like a pail of shoes in the garage. This is what's happening over here. 60 pairs of shoes lying against the wall. Right? What possibly is that? That's exactly. And if they were to go tomorrow to some other store, they'll say, oh, there's a 40% off sale, we need to buy another 2 pairs. That's the exact sign that this is what is never going to end. The nafs is ruining the person. We may have a desire for watches. We may have for itar, for new shirts, for new ties, for whatever it is. Constantly wanting more. That's a nafs that is killing us. So we have to conquer that nafs, as Rasulullah ﷺ said, Inna a'da aduwik. Your biggest enemy, Rasulullah ﷺ said, is a nafsuk allati bayna jambayk, the nafs that is between your sides, right here. Like I've heard from my elders, the nafs is a bigger enemy than shaitan. Because shaitan was kana min al-jinn. He was just a normal jinn that used to worship Allah a lot, and would prostrate in front of Allah, and would supplicate to Allah, and would do tasbih, tahmeed, tahleel, everything. But you and I know what made him into this evil devil, the real devil, is he did not like the idea that he has to bow down in front of Adam, and he said, خَلَقْتَهُ مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ. You created me from fire, which is superior to what you created Adam from, which is mud, clay. This is what you call the nafs. The nafs, the ana, that I am better, I am bigger, I am greater, I need this, is what made this nice, beautiful jinn into the worst of all people, of all jinn, shaitan, iblis. So that same nafs, when it comes into me, when it comes into you, when it comes into a little child, when it comes into an old woman, when it comes into a scholar's mind, a businessman, a physician, a lawyer, anyone of any occupation, it completely ruins that person. In this month of Ramadan, we need to try our best that we use the blessings of this Ramadan to conquer that nafs. Very briefly, we have talked about in the Ramadan seminar that there are 4 ways that we can conquer this nafs. And all those 4 ways need to be practiced upon throughout the year. But in the month of Ramadan, all 4 are packaged together. And that is the قِلَّةُ الطَّعَامِ, قِلَّةُ الْمَنَامِ, قِلَّةُ الْكَلَامِ, and قِلَّةُ الْإِخْتِلَاطِ مَعَ الْأَنَامِ. So, قِلَّةُ الطَّعَامِ, eating less. We should always conquer. Whenever the ulama say that we should stand up and leave the tablecloth or the table, food, while we are still desiring to eat more. Not that when we're sick of it, but I don't even see any more food. I'm so sick of it. I feel like throwing up now. If you show me another, a piece of fruit or whatever, another morsel of food, that's way too late. A person should stand up thinking that I still want more. That's hard. Yes, it's hard, but that's what's going to kill that nafs. قِلَّةُ الطَّعَامِ, eating less. And Ramadan, of course, gives us the opportunity. 18 hours, 17 hours of fasting. And if we just cut down our iftar and suhoor meal to just one meal or less meal, we can work on that. And then the purpose is after Ramadan as well, that we continue on that. Number 2 is قِلَّةُ الْمَنَامِ, sleeping less. Ramadan gives us that opportunity because of Qiyamul Layl, because of Tahajjud, because of our Taraweeh Salah here and early suhoor, we don't get that much time to sleep. So that also kills our nafs. And number 3, قِلَّةُ الْكَلَامِ, speaking less. Whenever we speak, there's always a chance, it's a double-edged sword. Majority of the time we get hit. Right? So how are we going to speak less? Because we're fasting, we're tired, we don't want to speak too much. And number 2, we are reciting Quran. The more Quran you and I are going to recite, the less time we're going to have to speak. If we are already, inshallah, finished one khatam in the first 10 days, we're starting up on our second khatam or more than that, you know that you have no time to talk because you got to be sitting there reading Quran. And lastly, قِلَّةُ الْإِخْتِلَاطِ مَعَ الْأَنَامِ, meeting people less, in decreasing the socialization. And that is done through i'tikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan, the sunnah i'tikaf, or the nafil i'tikaf any day of the jazakallah khair. Any day that you go in the masjid between Asr and Maghrib till Isha or Isha onwards, you make i'tikaf. During that i'tikaf time, our cell phones are switched off, we're not talking to family, we're not talking to friends. That is the time for us to decrease the socialization. But this is not just for Ramadan. I'm saying that all 4. This is not a Ramadan bayan here. Really, these 4 things, the ulama didn't think up, oh, this is Ramadan coming, so let's come up with 4 things. This is round, the year round. These are the 4 things they always tell us. That this is how you conquer the nafs. But it so happens, mashallah, that in the month of Ramadan, all 4 are accumulated, are there together. So let's take full benefit of that and try to work on it in this month and after Ramadan as well. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow all of us to give us the strength to subdue our nafs, to put the reins on our nafs and to put under our control, and that He allows, inshaAllah, to make our nafs of the type of nafs al-mutma'inna, which is always happy with the decree of Allah, and that nafs which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also looking forward to meeting. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.